cost of doing nothing really can mean to you. So we'll go into the next slide, which is really what the 3 goals of the assessment are. So the first one is to assess your current state and really understand what your business opportunities are, and define what the benefits can be based on your goals, your drivers, and your challenges. The next thing is to identify a migration strategy. So really based on your use cases and our experience here at Genesys in the consulting community, really what is that best path for you to reach your goals. And then the last thing is to deliver that phased migration approach for you to help mitigate your risk and understand what the timeline is, what the estimated costs are, and the financial benefits of moving forward. So going on to the next slide, let's talk a little bit about the approach. So the first thing that we'll do is we'll have a kickoff call with you, and we'll bring in some of the project sponsors and the people that are really there to kind of champion the whole assessment. And what we do is we go over really what the goals of the assessment are that we just talked about, what the expectations are, what types of resources need to be there to help us really achieve and deliver the best approach for you. The next thing we do is an on-site workshop, the first one. It usually lasts anywhere from a half day to a full day, or sometimes even 2 days based on the size of your different centers that we're going to be visiting. And then after we do that, we take the information away that we gathered, and we come back usually 2 to 3 weeks later and present that whole migration strategy for you. So let's go a little bit deeper into, now that we talked about the kickoff call a little bit, let's look a little bit deeper at what that first workshop is. So the next slide goes over what really is that on-site. So we're going to discuss with your strategic goals and drivers. We're going to understand really what are your challenges and roadblocks from achieving your goals or your CX strategy. We're going to look at your current operations. So we will do, prior to coming on site, we actually do a CX safari where we go and we understand kind of what are your call flows, what is your website looking like, what is that whole customer experience. But we don't stop there. We're really going to go deeper and look at the employee engagement as well. So what are some of the roadblocks there coming from how your agents are maybe using multiple systems in order to get an answer, or maybe they're struggling on certain parts to even find the answer, as well as what are some of the management practices. So we'll dig into your QA, your workforce management, possibly the people that are doing your analytics, and understand what are some of the things that they're trying to achieve, what's working well, and maybe what's not. Then we'll go into the current solution review, and this is kind of like, I would say, almost more technical review. So work with your IT to understand what are all the different tools that you're using, how are they configured, and that helps us put together an architecture design and solution design in order to put together, again, the project roadmap for moving forward. We'll also do some desk side observations, and we'll do that with the employees in your contact centers, people from your sales, perhaps if you have a collections department, if there's a marketing group that's doing perhaps social media or your digital strategies, we'll sit with them as well. And like I said, it can be a full day or it can be a half day. It just depends, again, on the size of your organization. So the next slide goes over what a typical agenda for this workshop looks like. And you can see where our goal really is, or the structure of it is to start out very strategically at a high level to talk to like executive management and project sponsors to understand what from a corporate standpoint are the strategies for CX or your digital strategy? How are you measuring the voice of the customer? What are some of your goals and drivers for the year? And then from there, we drill down operationally. So after we meet with the project sponsors, we'll go into the people that are managing the contact centers. So on a day-to-day basis, let's talk about what are the channels they're using, how are interactions being routed, where are they struggling with things like their IVR or self-service or transferring of information from centers to centers, possibly things like work being sent off to the back office and the communication isn't there, that type of thing. We'll also, as you can see there, dig down into the quality program and workforce management and reporting. Now, where this becomes a full day is if you have separate groups that manage each of those things, like the quality, workforce management, reporting, and if we need to meet with separate groups, then we can. Then it becomes a little bit longer engagement, and we are open to either of that. Over in the right-hand column, that's where it has the recommended attendees. So what are the types of resources that we need for each of these sessions? And then there at the bottom, you'll see that that's kind of the technical current platform session where we'll go over some of the more design aspects of the solution itself. Okay, then the workshop number 2, that's all about presenting our migration strategy to you. So we come back on site and we will go over what those visions and challenges that we heard. We'll go over a customer experience roadmap with you with a phased migration strategy on how to realize that vision. Then we will also identify Genesys use cases that are tuned to your unique requirements so that you can gain the desired capabilities. We'll also go through some financial benefits that are, again, being driven by your use cases, and then really show you a vision of what's possible. And we can do that through a video clip, basically that's customized to your environment and the solutions that are part of your roadmap. We'll also give you a proposal with budgetary pricing and help you define what some of the measurable outcomes should be for a value realization study that I know Julian talked about in the prior session. All right, then the next slide is really talking a little bit about the Genesys use cases. So I just put this in here so that you understand what the benefit truly is of the use cases, because I think they are a great differentiator with Genesys. They're going to be used to define your business processes that are going to be enabled, including the solutions, the development effort, and again, the expected outcomes. They're going to be matched uniquely to your goals and strategies. And because we start with templates, it helps us to minimize the implementation timeline, as well as help to reduce the risk. All right. Let's see. From there, I wanted to give you a sneak peek into some of the things that are delivered in the migration strategy presentation. And this next slide is basically an example of what your goals would be. So again, based on our discovery and our workshop number 1, we would look at putting together, here are the goals that we heard. So modernizing and simplifying your current solution, being able to offer, maybe an omni-channel environment, being able to improve the customer experience through self-service with online experiences, increase maybe your first call resolution. I bet you a lot of these sound very familiar to you, because actually we do see a lot of the same goals and pain points across companies. Then we go into a little bit of what the strategy, maybe some of what your strategies are in order to reach those goals. So different things on how to enhance your customer experience by perhaps allowing the different interactions to move seamlessly between different agents or different departments without the customer having to repeat themselves. Increasing, again, first contact resolution by allowing screen pops and integrations into back-end systems. And then we go into how we can nurture the employee engagement by giving them a single desktop or enhancing quality assurance, etc. From there, we go into just a summary on the next slide of what the challenges are that we heard. So what are you struggling with in terms of your customer experience, or perhaps productivity issues, or with your current systems and infrastructures, with having maybe multiple segregated systems, maybe you don't have integrations into back-end systems, or perhaps you're only voice today and you have limited self-service options on your website, etc. But we like to go over and really get on the same page as far as what your challenges are. And then on the next slide, it basically just summarizes again what are the top 4 things that your goals are and where you want to go with this implementation. So effortless customer engagement in any channel at any time. Real-time actionability driven by full customer knowledge. So using that knowledge in order to intelligently route to the appropriate agent. Customer engagement that's going to align with your brand, and to have a future-proof partnership that helps us really move into the future. So the next slide is basically an overview of what the 3 phases are. I know Julian touched on the 3 phases that we'd like to put into our approach, the walk, run, fly. So part of that is under the walk phase is going to be migrating to a new platform that's going to basically stabilize and allow you to move beyond perhaps you're only again in the voice channel, so helping you to expand and meet your goals. To use attributes of Genesys voice solution like the intelligent routing, reporting, the integration into backend systems to allow for screen pops, an omni-channel desktop, etc. And then the run, which we call here an omni-channel phase. This example of the slide was the walk phase included basically just going to the voice channel and kind of doing a like for like while getting some out-of-the-box enhancements. And then in their second phase, the omni-channel phase, is when they were going to add additional channels. And then the fly phase is where they were going to go beyond that and look into speech analytics, text analytics, the whole customer journey, etc., predictive engagement, and digital support with bots and artificial intelligence. So I want to dig deep a little bit further into that first phase. So the next slide really goes over, okay, here's an example of what the migration phase might look like. So in the deliverable, we'll go deeper and say, and kind of really, spell out exactly what's going to be included. So you can see here that it goes into what's going to happen with your the voice channel, outbound dialer. We're going to be doing callbacks, audio and screen recording, etc. And then the next slide goes into what are the use cases associated with those different features and functionality that are going to be included in the first phase. So I talked a little bit about them. So you can see here that these use cases were mapped basically to what features and functionality best matched the challenges and use cases that we needed from your organization. So call routing, callback, customer authentication, the recording, quality management, analytics, etc. And really what this will do is help you understand, although we start with templates, they are all still customized to your environment. So the template just allows us, again, to start out. Think of it like if you're going to do maybe a payment, a self-service where you're going to take payments. Well, a lot of the same information is collected regardless of what company, right? So we start out with those pre-built templates and use cases, and then of course we will tailor the scripts, etc., and the functionality, the back-end integration according to your requirements. All right. Then moving on to there. So after we identify and match up the use cases, we look at what are the expected outcomes from this. So this one, in phase one, this company was looking to really increase their customer experience. And you can see that the operational gains, there's revenue uplift, and also an increase in the agent experience. And we identify how each of those things are going to be impacting the customer experience. And then we take it a step further, as you can see in the next slide. It's about what are those gains, what does it mean to us from a financial standpoint? And this is all based on, you can see that there's a certain benefit area, and then there's benchmarks that we've collected from prior customers, prior value realization studies, and then using your numbers, we can give an estimated benefit of what this would mean to you from a financial standpoint. So the next couple of slides, if we just want to go through that a little bit, the omnichannel phase is about what's coming next with the omnichannel, maybe increased self-service, etc. The next one goes into the fly phase, or what I called in this one the intelligence phase, because they were looking at using artificial intelligence and predictive engagement to really mature their customer experience. But I really want to get to this next slide, which is about what does the implementation roadmap look like. So this is a visualization of what a typical sprint included in the walk phase of a migration. It's all about release planning, which includes the project kickoff, confirming business outcomes, defining the user stories and the backlog. And in addition, we work with you to really whiteboard out all of your call flows and your key integrations. And then we get into the sprints. And for this customer, you can see the first sprint was about routing, telephony, IVR. So we're going to look at, typically we're doing these for Avaya customers, right? So we're going to look at your Avaya vectors, your VDNs, and so that they can be converted over into your intelligent routing. We're going to start to develop maybe some options for self-service and IVR, and really define what the telephony and PBX strategy is going to be. The second experience is all about the agent. The second sprint, I'm sorry, is all about the agent experience. So really understanding how the IVR is going to be integrated, the desktop control, the voicemail, any type of integrations to like the back-end systems. So what screen pops are going to be coming along, etc. with the interaction. So you kind of get the experience here. So this migration phase will go through each step and really be tailored to your organization. So the next slide is kind of one of my favorite slides. And this is where we're actually putting together, what is this ROI really going to look like? Talk to me a little bit more about this financial benefit. So what you're seeing is just a sample. The slide deck for the migration presentation includes a lot of other slides that builds out all of these various benefits that lead to this table, right? And this table goes over what are the cost outlay in the top couple of lines, as well as then what are some of those savings and additional profit potential for you as a company. So during the assessment, we gather multiple metrics from you to be able to put together this financial benefit. And it goes through, what does it mean to have a single platform as far as, efficiency gains and migration strategies and basically maintenance and stuff like that, as well as you can see the screen pop, what it means to basically having a single desktop for supervisory tools, the things that recording and quality assurance across all your channels, and maybe enhanced tools for scoring, that type of thing, and understanding better your workforce management, etc. So it goes through all of those different financial benefits, as well as the ability to eliminate your existing maintenance calls from your prior tools. And it puts together an ROI. You can see this customer had 192% ROI over the 5 years. It also calculates the payback period, which this customer looked at 4 months. But the most intriguing thing to me, and why we're kind of here, right, is that the cost of doing nothing. So this customer was going to be basically losing almost $30,000 per month if they stayed on their existing platform. So that's pretty telling there. So throughout this whole assessment, right, you're basically going to get, again, understanding your challenges, your benefits, your strategies, your goals, putting together a migration strategy from getting you from your legacy platform over to a Genesys platform, what those business outcomes are, what use cases can be matched and templated out, and then looking at an estimated timeline for reaching those goals, as well as what are those financial benefits. And with that, the next slide is just one of those logo slides that go over everyone that we have helped move from an Avaya platform over to the Genesys platform. So the PureBridge Assessment program was initially targeted for the Avaya customers, but we also can do that, of course, for people coming from other platforms as well. So with that, I want to thank you so much for attending today. It was my pleasure speaking with you, and feel free to reach out at any time. Hope you enjoy the rest of the summit.
Thank you, Janet. We're going to take a 15-minute break, and when we come back, we'll hear from our panel, including Gordon Sexton, Marty Jackson, Brian Bischoff, as well as Alex Michael back from Frost & Sullivan, and they'll be talking about contact center modernization and blended AI. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you back soon.